Have you ever wanted to like step into a fantasy world that already has all this amazing history and characters? What if you could play D&D in a world shaped by a legendary hero, like, someone everyone knows?
I mean, yeah, who wouldn't want to walk in the footsteps of their favorite heroes, right?
Totally. So just last week, my D&D party, we found ourselves right smack in the middle of Menzoberranzan.
Oh, wow.
That Drew city, just full of danger around every corner.
Yeah.
We were trying to broker this deal with a priestess of Lolth. Super shady character.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, things got really intense.
Had to pull out all the stops.
Oh, yeah, it was a close one.
Huh?
But it really got me thinking about how much fun it is to play D&D in a world that already has so much, history and depth. Like you're really part of something bigger.
Absolutely. And that's exactly what we are diving into today. We're talking about adapting R.A. Salvatore's Drizzt Do'Urden saga into a D&D campaign. It's based on this awesome article from LitRPG Reads by Kenny Kings.
Well, I've heard of that article.
Yeah.
I'm excited to dig into it.
Yeah, it's a good one. I actually tried to do something similar a few years ago.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I tried to adapt this huge epic fantasy series into a playable campaign for my group. And let me tell you, it was a challenge.
I bet.
But so rewarding figuring out how to take all those complex storylines and translate them into, encounters my players would actually enjoy.
That makes sense. So for our listeners who might not be as familiar with the Forgotten Realms, could you give us a quick rundown of who Drizzt Do'Urden is and why he's such a big deal?
Sure. So Drizzt is a Drow Ranger. He's this iconic character in the Forgotten Realms, created by R.A. Salvatore. He's the star of a whole series of books that have been captivating fantasy fans for decades.
Wow, decades.
Yeah, he's been around for a while. I think what makes him so interesting is his struggle. He's fighting against the dark legacy of his people, Drow society is not known for being good, but Drizzt, he chooses good. He defies everything expected of him, and he constantly faces prejudice because of it.
That's so powerful. It sounds like his story has a lot of depth that could really connect with players on a deeper level. What kind of themes do you think Dungeon Masters could explore in a Drizzt-inspired campaign?
Oh, tons. You've got identity, freedom, prejudice, belonging. It delves into loyalty, sacrifice, power, redemption, you name it. All those big questions we grapple with in real life.
So it's not just about swinging swords and rolling dice. It's about exploring those bigger issues and making tough choices.
Exactly.
So how does this article actually suggest structuring a whole campaign around Drizzt's story? Because his saga is massive.
Well, the article lays out a chapter-by-chapter framework. It follows the main points of Drizzt's journey, the major events. But it leaves plenty of space for the Dungeon Master and the players to make it their own.
So it's not just like replaying the books beat for beat.
No. It's about using them as inspiration to create something new and unique.
I like that. So where does this epic adventure begin? What kind of challenges would players face in the first chapter?
The campaign kicks off with a bang, a thrilling escape from the Underdark. Just like Drizzt's own harrowing escape, it's a chance for players to really experience this oppressive world, The Underdark. All those creepy creatures and treacherous tunnels, dryaders, illithits, the whole shebang.
Oh man, I can already feel the tension just thinking about it. Trying to escape from that oppressive darkness with who knows what lurking around every corner.
It's definitely an intense way to start a campaign.
So what kind of player characters would actually thrive in a setting like that?
Well, the article has some cool ideas. You could have exiled drow nobles trying to escape their society. Or maybe hardy deep gnomes, they're used to the dangers of the Underdark.
They're like the ultimate survivalists, right?
Exactly. Or you could even play a surface dweller who's been captured and forced to adapt to this totally alien environment. Each background gives the players a unique connection to the world and a reason to be part of Drizzt's story.
I love that. It's not just Drizzt's story anymore. It's theirs too.
That's the beauty of it. And those stories, they just get richer as the campaign progresses. Once the players have escaped the Underdark, they emerge into the surface world, and that brings a whole new set of challenges and opportunities.
So after they've survived the Underdark, what awaits them on the surface? What new obstacles do they face?
It's a whole different world up there, especially for someone coming from the Underdark.
Right. Imagine coming from that darkness into the sunlight for the first time.
Yeah, it can be pretty jarring. And then there's the vastness of the sky, the different cultures, the prejudices they face.
Yeah, it's a huge adjustment. So where do these newly surfaced adventurers go? What locations does the article suggest for this part of the campaign?
Oh, it throws out some classics from Dritzt's world. You could go to Icewind Dale, that frozen wasteland.
Oh yeah, with the frost giants and everything?
Exactly. Super dangerous, but beautiful in its own way. Or maybe Luskin, that port city. It's a hub of trade and intrigue, but also full of pirates and smugglers.
Sounds like a good time.
And of course, you can't forget Waterdeep. That massive city with its twisting streets and all sorts of characters.
So many options. It's like a dungeon master's playground. But how do you incorporate the companions of the hall? Drizzt's iconic allies. We can't just have them show up as cameos.
You have to weave them into the story in a way that feels natural. The article suggests giving them their own goals and motivations.
So Brunor isn't just hanging out in Mithril Hall, waiting for the players to arrive.
Exactly. He's a king. He's got responsibilities. Maybe he needs the players' help to secure a trade deal, or Caddy Bree wants them to track down some bandits, make their goals intersect with the players' actions.
I see. So it feels like a living world where things are happening with or without the players' involvement.
That's the idea.
Yeah.
The companions become active participants in the story, not just quest givers.
And how do their relationships with the players develop?
Organically. Just like in the books, they could become trusted allies, mentors even. Or maybe rivalries emerge. It all depends on the players' choices and how they interact with the companions.
That's what I love about D&D.
Yeah.
The story can go in so many different directions.
Absolutely. But the campaign can't stay on the surface forever.
Where do they go next? Back to the Underdark.
You got it. The article suggests a dramatic return to Menzoberranzan, Drizzt's old stomping grounds.
Oh, wow. Going back to where it all began. But why? Why would they go back to that awful place?
There could be a lot of reasons. Maybe an artifact was stolen and the trail leads back to Menzoberranzan. Or maybe one of the companions has been captured by a rival drow house.
That's a good one. So they're drawn back into the Underdark, but now they have experience on the surface. They've grown stronger.
Exactly. They're not those same scared adventurers who escaped the first time, but they're also facing a threat that hits closer to home now.
It's like they're facing a darker version of themselves.
In a way, yeah. The Underdark becomes a symbol of everything they've worked to overcome, and going back there forces them to confront their past.
It's a test of everything they've learned. So how does Drizzt's strong moral compass factor into all of this? Do the players have to be just like him?
That's the beauty of adapting Drizzt's story. It's not about forcing players to be perfect heroes. It's about giving them tough choices, dilemmas that challenge their beliefs.
So it's not black and white.
No way. The world's way more complicated than that. What if they find out one of their companions has done something shady? Do they turn them in? Do they try to understand why they did it?
Or what if they have to choose between saving a village or pursuing some powerful artifact?
Exactly. It's about making those tough calls and living with the consequences.
It's what makes D&D so engaging. You're not just rolling dice. You're wrestling with real moral questions.
You got it. It's about creating a story that matters, a story that makes the players think. So speaking of big decisions, how does the article suggest wrapping up this massive campaign? It talks about epilogues and legacies, It suggests giving the players these glimpses into the future.
Like fast forwarding and seeing how their actions change things.
Yeah, exactly. It could be something subtle, like a shift in power, or maybe something really dramatic, like the landscapes changed because of what they did.
I bet that would give players a real sense of accomplishment. Like, wow, we really made a difference in this world.
It's a great way to end a campaign that's been running for so long. Gives everyone a sense of closure.
It makes you think about the ripple effects of your choices, doesn't it?
For sure. So before we wrap things up, I'm curious. If you were to create a character for a Drizzt-inspired campaign, what kind of character would you make?
Ooh, that's a tough one. I think I'd go with a Moon Elf Ranger.
Classic choice. Always loved Moon Elf Ranger.
With a twist.
Ooh, a twist. I like it. Tell me more.
Instead of being a typical archer, focusing on ranged combat, I'd lean into their connection to nature and their magical abilities. Like a ranger who draws power from the moon and the stars. Maybe even a bit of druidism mixed in.
Oh, wow, that's cool. That fits really well with Drizzt's whole vibe, too, His respect for nature.
Yeah. I imagine them as this fierce protector of the wilds, a champion of balance, maybe even able to hear the whispers of the forest.
I love it. We've got some really cool character ideas brewing here. What do you think our listeners would come up with?
Ooh, I'd love to hear their ideas. Don't forget to share your character concepts in the comments below. tell us about the hero you would bring to Drizzt's world.
See those creative juices flowing.
This has been such a fascinating deep dive. We've journeyed through the Underdark, explored the surface world, and even faced down epic villains, all while figuring out how to adapt this amazing fantasy saga to our own D&D games.
It's incredible what you can do with a little imagination and the D&D rulebook.
A big thank you to Kenny Kings and LitRPG Reads for giving us this awesome resource for D&D players and fans. And of course, a shout out to Paul Bello for always bringing us the best in fantasy literature.
Couldn't have done it without them.
And to all our listeners out there, keep those dice rolling and may your adventures be legendary.